Hello everyone, thank you for checking me out. Thanks for watching my video. In this video today I'm going to start or continue my series of videos about sun gazing. I talk about a lot of topics, but I think sun gazing is the most popular topic that I talk about, so I'm gonna accelerate my series about sun gazing. And today in this video I'm going to talk about some of the negatives that I've had during my experiences in sun gazing. First off, I'll start by giving you a little bit of background information about me. I've been sun gazing for about 2.5 years, and through this evolution I've gone through many changes, and I'm going to share with you some of the negatives about sun gazing. And don't get me wrong, sun gazing, the positives outweigh the negatives in a big way. But I think it wouldn't be fair for me to, focus on the positive things without talking about the negative things, which will give a person more insight to know what to do and what not to do in their practice of sun gazing, and it'll help their path, and maybe they could reflect back some information to me that will help my path as well. We can help each other. Alright, so again, I have been sun gazing for about 2.5 years, and initially when I first started sun gazing, I had like a big time personality conflict issue. Like I was becoming this new person. Like there were lots of changes in my psyche, and I was having trouble like understanding like the best ways to deal with that and adapt and adjust to it. So that was like one, negative with my sun gazing, being able to adapt to this new me, this new psyche, this new way of thinking and seeing the world. And what I mean about this is like I was becoming very different. I was seeing the world differently. I was interpreting people differently. I was my whole outlook on life was changing, and and it was changing really fast, and I didn't really know how to deal with that, how to adapt to this situation fast enough. This happened really quickly. It happened my first 6 to 8 months, like a total personality change, and it was really tough adapting to this. And some ways that I had trouble adapting were being like my intuition grew, my intuition got better, or my intuition got stronger. And at this time I didn't know whether to believe my intuition or not, because I was beginning to see through the changes in me from sun gazing, like I could see like the really, really good in people, and it was a really phenomenal thing. I was like so happy to see this. I was seeing good in people that I never saw before in a big way, and that was just amazing, and it felt so good to get this energy from these people. But the negative side of the coin, or the opposite side of the coin, is that I was seeing them really, really ugly too. And I was having trouble like wondering or knowing like if I should believe, the ugly parts that I was seeing in people. Again, it was my interpretation. So, an interpretation is an interpretation. It's how you see reality, but it doesn't necessarily make it the collective reality of everyone else. So I guess the most logical thing to do, whether my intuition is right or whether it's wrong, is to ignore these feelings, or ignore this intuition, or just kind of write it off and just assume that it's wrong, and just kind of ignore it. So that was one issue. I would see the really bad in people, and sometimes it's really horrible to see. It's really ugly to see, and it would really shock me. I would see it. Actually, nothing would really happen. I would just kind of like see it, feel it, sense it, and to me, it was so strong that I would be like, oh my God, you know, whoa. And, you know, I can't, you know, act on that. You know, I have no real solid, substantial, real life reality proof that this is a situation. So for me to act on that, I guess it would just make me look like just a psycho or something. So I ignored my intuition on this quite a bit, and I just, you know, I assumed the best, and I attempted to take the high road. And actually, I tried to be nicer to these people so that, you know, I could, I guess, reverse that energy and make it better. Also, talk to these people more so that I could see or try to understand if what I was feeling was true. So this is one negative I had in my change in Sungazing, adapting to my new psyche, my newfound energy. And of course, you know, the good that I saw in people, which it came at a much bigger, higher, stronger level than I had gotten before. Sometimes it was really good. I really invited that to me, and I wanted that to be drawn to me. So from this, I just kind of learned to just focus on the good stuff, really focus on the good stuff, because the good felt really good. So that's the direction that I tended to focus on. And with the I guess the ugly side of things, initially I ignored them and just kind of backed away, like, woo, you know, no. But later I began to try to be more proactive and I guess talk to these people, these energies, and try to understand them better, so that I was able to I guess adapt to it or change it, or see if there's any way that I could inject some of my good energy and into their lives, into their psyche, and make them feel better. So that's one thing, one of the negatives that I dealt with in my evolution of Sungazing. This I went through this for like the first I guess 6 to 8 months. And I guess the next thing, or the next negative that I dealt with in Sungazing, is that Sungazing it can become very addictive. It can become extremely addictive. And if any of you know about, or if any of you follow astrology, like I myself, I'm a Pisces. I'm a big time like dreamer. I guess kind of a mystical, magical type of person. I'm drawn to occult stuff, and you know, before I was kind of a skeptic on astrology, but after reading about it and learning like about myself, like the way they describe my sign, it's totally me. It's absolutely me. I agree with like 80 to 90% of it. And yeah, I forget the point I was making in talking about this, but the second negative that I was dealing with in my evolution through Sungazing was yeah, it becoming very addictive. Okay, now I remember. Yeah, and Pisces, they're addicted to things like this. They're addicted to you know, occult and mystical stuff. So I guess I had a tendency or a propensity toward something like this, or I have the tendency to do things that are addictive. Like I have tendencies to drink alcohol and maybe find ways to escape. And I guess the Sungazing was no. I don't really drink much alcohol, by the way. I'm really just a wine person. But Sungazing became like, I guess, my escape. I began to use it as an escape from everything. Like I was getting so much I guess stimulation from it, positive stimulation that would allow me to be able to just I guess, relax in situations that were not relaxing. It was my own personal tranquilizer, and that's how I use it. And I began to, I guess, kind of abuse it because I began to do it so much. Like I built up to a point where I was sun gazing 3 or 4 hours per day average. Like no matter what the season was, no matter what time of day it was. So some days I would do 30 minutes, some days I would do like 4 hours. So, you know, it became really an addiction of mine. But in my defense, it was also an experimental phase, trying to see how far things can go, how high I can take my mystic abilities, and how much I could connect with this element of nature. So I guess that's another trait of my astrological sign. My curiosity is extremely strong, which I grew like a big addiction to sun gazing, and you know, it kind of began to affect my personal life a little bit, because I was spending quite a bit of my free time doing this, and it helped me in ways that it made me more productive. So the extra time I was spending doing it, it made me more productive in like the things I had to do anyway. But at the same time, you know, you don't want to, you know, get caught up in one thing, you know, too much. You can get too much of a good thing. But that's the second thing, you know, just becoming or gaining an addiction to it, which I guess I'll discuss more in depth a little bit later with the addictions and why you become addicted to it, and some of the biological reasons and the chemicals that you make in your mind from doing the sun gazing, and you know, the physiological, biological effects that it has on you. I'll do a video about that in the future, and I'll go in depth about the different ways it stimulates your mind and the hormones that it makes and the effects that these hormones have on you. But it's for a later video. Alright, and the third issue, or the third negative that I dealt with in my sun gazing, my evolution of sun gazing, was it was a health issue, because as I mentioned to you before, it became an addiction of mine. And I guess you could see it as a good addiction because I stuck to it. I did it so much because I got so many benefits from it. It was the benefits that I was getting from it is why I became so addicted to it. Not just as a tranquilizer, not just as something to make me feel good, but I was just getting like more productivity out of myself. I was just getting way more energy out of myself, and it was more. It was a spiritual energy. It was a physical energy. It was an energy that I can't really describe, but I was getting that, and I was loving it, and I stuck to it. And the issue that I had with my health was from doing it so much over 2.5 years. I went back to my country, because now I live in Asia. I went back to my country I went to get a driver license. And in order, because my driver license had expired, because I've been living overseas for, you know, quite some time. But I went back to my country, and I went to get a driver license, and they told me that I had to take an eye test. And the driver license exam place, they said, oh, you didn't pass the test, so you need to go get glasses or get seen by a doctor, and if they give you the thumbs up, then you can come take your test. So that's what I did. I went to Walmart. I went to see a doctor, eye doctor, optometrist, and I did the eye test, and then he basically explained to me that it's just a liability thing. He said I passed the test, my eyes are fine, they're good enough to drive. He said it's a liability thing. They just do this so that if something happens, their company is not liable. They could say, oh, you know, we sent them to do a test, it's the optometrist's fault. And it was basically a liability thing. You know, of course at my expense I got to pay for this stuff, but that's what he said to me. And he asked me could he also look at my eye for some other reason to check it out. He said he saw something that looked kind of different, and he basically put my he asked me to could he look into my eye with the machine. Initially I was kind of against this because, you know, I'm really against, like, you know, using like x-rays, technology and all this you know, fancy doctor stuff, because I think, you know, technology is one of our downfalls. So I really try to limit myself on how much technology I use. Even, I mean, technology takes us, it gives us ability to do this, what I'm doing right now, but it's also a downfall, which, you know, I'll talk more about it later. I've actually talked about it in some of my previous videos. But anyways, he put a picture of my eyeball on a big screen. He looked in my eye, he scanned it, he put it on a big screen. He showed all the details of my eyeball. It was it looked like something out of a sci-fi movie. I didn't even know that doctors had the ability to do this. I had never seen anything like this before. And he immediately asked me, he said, "Do you stare at the sun?" And I said, "Yes, I do. I do it all the time." And he said, "Well, I think you might want to stop doing that." And I didn't ask him why. I just kind of smiled because I kind of knew he would say that. I think any doctor, optometrist would say that, because, you know, it goes against their teaching and they don't understand and they're overly cautious. And, you know, any doctor or person in this position, they're going to give you the conservative answer. They're not going to take the details into consideration. They're going to give you the safe, conservative, consensus answer. And so that's what I was expecting. So I just kind of ignored it and I smiled. But he said, I asked him, I said, why do you say that? How did you know? He said, well, if you look at this picture on your eyeball, you have a little bit of inflammation on your eyeball. And according to this, like I'm shocked that you can see as well as you can see based on this inflammation that you have in your eyeball. And he said, fortunately for you, this is completely reversible. And again, if I were you, I would let my eyes heal and let this situation fix itself. So I kind of learned something from this situation. I learned that maybe I need to have like some type of measuring tool or some way to know like my progress and know how well my sun gazing is working for me, if it's affecting my health, affecting my eye health. And I believe, I feel that if my eyes are strong and good, then I can get more benefit from my sun gazing, because the eyes are the beginning of everything. The eyes have so many different functions other than just seeing. The eyes are kind of, to me, like your first brain. And I'll talk about this in a future video related to sun gazing, like about the mechanics of the eye and what the eye is made from, and how these material pull in light and reflect light. I'm going to talk about some of these things in the future. But yeah, the eyeball this is something that I want to discuss in the future, like how we can strengthen our eyes, how we can check the progress of our eyes, and like what kind of tests we can get to see our progress, so that we'll know if we should do more, do less, you know, completely stop doing it. Just basically have, you know, a measuring tool for how well our program is going for us. A really wise doctor, one of my one of the people that I look up to, he mentioned that if you're doing any type of biohack or a self-experiment, you should always have some type of tool to measure, or you probably have no business doing it. So in a future video, I plan to talk about ways of measuring how much progress we're making, and also I'm going to make a future video on ways that we can build the eye and make it stronger and make its machinery better, so that we can get more from our sun gazing and more from our vision and more from the functions of our eyes. And again, the eye has so many other functions and we're just not aware of it, and these are things that I plan to talk about in the future. So thank you so much for checking me out. This video is a long one, but hopefully it was an informative one, and I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you so much for checking me out. If you like it, please show your appreciation by pressing the like button. Please subscribe to my channel. If you have a comment, please drop it in the comment sections below, even if it's to say keep up the good work, or even if it is to say hello, you know, drop me a comment. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you for watching. I love you, and you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, whatever time it is in your portion of the world. Thank you again. Bye-bye.